أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. This is a review of the moon quarter just gone, and just to orientate you, I'm gonna look in my diary. As an aside, this name was written by a gentleman whose name I have forgotten in Saida in Lebanon a couple of years ago, and it is something very memorable. So the diary looks like this. It's a bit random in many respects. So this is an unadulterated view of how up to date I am. So I lay out my months in a kind of Hijri fashion, going from new moon to new moon, and that day is repeated. So the next month starts with the new moon. Now there's a difference between the astronomical time of the new moon and the Islamic month actually starting, because that requires seeing it in your locality. So months can start at different times or days in different parts of the world. So that's the new moon, that's also the new moon. Those are the quarters. That's the end of the first quarter, that is the end of the second quarter, so that is basically imminent. That's the end of the third quarter, that's the end of the fourth quarter, and then you go back to the new moon. So days are a bit difficult because I've talked elsewhere about what exactly does a day mean, and there are different conceptualizations. I am using, again, an Islamic perspective, which says that the day starts and ends at sunset, which does change things. So we are here, Yom al-Jumu'ah, and there is a code, a key. Yesterday, blue represents music and art, and we had some beautiful cabinetry delivered to our house. So more on that another day. So that quarter starting here and finishing here is the quarter I'm going to review. And the way I'm going to review it is mainly for me, that I'm going to review my notebook. So my current notebook, which is Midori paper. So that was the review the quarter before, and the current system is that each new day has a moon symbol to represent the quarter, which quarter we're in, and then a Bismillah to purify the writing for that day. Now, I am doing it in real time, so this is what I am thinking about what I wrote. So no entry yesterday, which is interesting. So I did some recitation, but didn't actually record the day. So there's an issue in my startup routine. So rhythms has been something that I've been seeking to understand for, I don't know, a long time, since I was 17, 18, and a dancer from France talked to me about rhythm, and that opened my eyes. And the celestial rhythms and lunar rhythms and earthly rhythms are very much in the forefront of my mind. And that was the last video. And so I was considering writing last time. What does it mean to write? What does it mean to read? And I suppose I wasn't railing against, but I had a slightly different perspective to Tiago Forte and Ali Abdal about writing for your future self. So it's in the moment, what is emerging, what is becoming conscious, and so basically turning fuzzbulousness into some kind of more explicit energy, and therefore energy that can power movement. And the nature of expression and the role of expression, I think, is really interesting. And then the next day was a very misty morning in the valley, in the Strath, in Strathspey, and it was absolutely gorgeous. And if I could say the poem again, I think I would change it. Dulled silver mist over the ink-dark dawn sky, magic visitors in the valley. And then it did bring me to Surah Al-Falaq, 113th Surah of the Qur'an. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Qul a'udhu bi rabbil falaq. Say, I seek refuge in the Lord of the Dawn. Rabbil falaq. And the Qur'an has been much more present in my life this month, as it is in the life of many Muslims. It is the month of the Qur'an, Ramadan, and many people try and renew their relationship with the Qur'an, and I've been trying to write bits, which is slow going for me. And the next day we had this ayah number 186 from Surah Al-Baqarah, which I have learned that the diacritic marks, the voweling, which is a sort of dashes or little sort of squiggles, are important. Now, I knew they were important, but I was trying to write and also practice without writing the diacritics. But with the Quran, because the diacritics are very much involved in the meaning, I think that is a lesson that I've learned, to put the diacritics in. And just to show you what it looks like in a Quran, this is the Quran from Cambridge Mosque, which is like beautiful, gorgeous. So this is the ayat we're talking about. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي عَنِّي فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ أُجِيبُ دَعْوَةَ الدَّاعِ إِذَا دَعَانِي فَلْيَسْتَجِيبُوا لِي وَلْيُؤْمِنُوا بِي لَعَلَّهُمْ يَرْشُدُونَ. Sadaqallahu al-Azim. So it, funnily enough, cropped up in an Instagram reel video, which I will try and link to. So a perhaps not so small, unfortunately, caveat here. There are differences of opinion amongst people and scholars and Muslim fiqh schools, madhab, as to the permissibility or not of women praying in congregation together. And unfortunately, by posting the next clip, I kind of position myself within that debate, and I don't want to. And the reason I think that it's worth doing is I have two daughters, and I want them to see themselves as women, as Muslims, as people who enact solidarity and who believe in community and communality. And more importantly, I want them to hear divine speech. It's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And the more beauty and song and beautiful song in the world, the better. And I want my children and all our children to be able to relate to that. So here goes. Forgive me if I am wrong.
لك عبادي عني فإني قريب أجيب دعوة الداعي إذا دعان فليستجيبوا لي وليؤمنوا بي لعلهم يرشدون.
Yeah, interesting. Some issues around the comments in there. So when my so this is Thomas Cleary's translation, which I really like. That's here. Lovely. For me, it brings out some of the sparseness and poetry of the language. in a way that other translations don't. I do like Yusuf Ali for different reasons. Yes, there are some that I don't speak to me in the same way. So when my servants ask you about me, I am close indeed, qaribun. I hearken to the prayer of the supplicant when one calls on me. So let them hearken to me and let them believe in me that they may go the right way. Yeah, so what was I thinking? Complexity just dissolves and resolves into simplicity. So we should hearken, believe, amana, and step right, act right. It's living the Qur'an, not just reading it or thinking about it. Although thinking about it is important in order to live it. So, yeah, the moon. Wow, the moon. There is literally a lunar eclipse happening pretty much as I'm speaking, although I can't see it at all because it's very cloudy where I am, and the moon has very much been on my mind. And the next day, the Qur'an mentions the new moons, the hilal, or so yeah. I did think I learnt my lesson to write down the diacritics, and the closeness I feel to the moon up in Highland is just fantastic. It is so bright. So walking out last night, when I could see the moon, it was just, I thought there was a light shining on the van to call it. I mean, it was just incredible. Very, very humbling to see that light in the darkness in the nighttime. So the moon and how we relate to it, the nature of time, which has been a theme for a while, and the Arabic is just, I don't know, it's incredible the way Arabic works. And I'm a real Arabic novice, but I'm trying to understand the roots, the triliteral consonantal roots more. So waqt for time, but there are other words for time, but we'll come to miqat in a second. But boundaries, there and there, that has come up a couple of times as well. So the nature of a boundary, very interesting phenomenon that I learned a lot about in my systems course from the Open University. So boundary judgments and how categorization works and how fluid that can be. So the next day, yeah, physically, Ramadan is interesting because we don't eat and we don't drink, and we get up early and we don't sleep in nearly the same way. And, that affects the body in different ways, and how we perceive it also changes from day to day. And that was a tired, headachy day, although it some days physically have been just great, actually. But the nature of the body, I think, is something that, for me, Islam has let me consider in a much more holistic way than perhaps I was used to. Particularly, I did an undergraduate degree with some social and political science stuff, and lots of really interesting debates about the nature of the individual, Mill and Marx, and I did a paper on women in society and different types of feminism, liberal feminism, radical feminism, and the body is clearly key, and the duality in Western philosophical thought and the problems that creates. And I love the way Islam conceptualizes the body. I really do. And the fact that, I don't mean to be crude, and not what I'm trying to do, the fact that sexual relations, actual intercourse, it can be, should be, often is, an act of worship, ibadah. You are meant to do or sunnah to do a literal, a ritual ablution, wudu, before and after, which just puts it into something else, makes it something else. And yes, I like having a body, and it is a trust, which I have also learned more about this week, that our bodies are a trust unto us, and yeah, we should look after them better. I should look after mine better, definitely. So I'm trying to read more about Surah Al-Baqarah, the cow, the second and the longest surah of the Qur'an. So, you know, often the intention is to try and read the whole Qur'an, and I've never done that in Arabic in the month of Ramadan. My Arabic is too poor and too slow. I've done that in English, but I'm trying to focus more on this Ramadan on one surah, to try and go through it a few times. And every sort of each time you read it, each time you come across something, different facets emerge, and it's just amazing. So there's a lot of stuff about women and men and marriage and divorce, and again the nature of sort of time comes up, and the word. So here's the root: waw, qaf, and ta. Meaning kind of an abstract time. So when you say what is the time in colloquial Arabic, you say I think you say ma sa'a. So what is the hour? A sa'a, which is different to the wider word for time. But miqat, an appointment, is also the geographical location on the approach to the Kaaba that pilgrims are meant to put on the two pieces of white cloth, undyed cloth, and come into the state of ihram, the state of purity, which is interesting. So here is the last day of the quarter, and I've also been considering, lucky enough to be able to consider the nature of the soul or the self, and the different components of that in an Islamic perspective, the ruh, the qalb or the heart, the aql or the reason, the intellect, and the nafs, the soul self. So the root of nafs, noon, fa, and sin, also derives to, that's not English, from which are derived these two verbs, to breathe and to aspire, which is interesting. So I'm sure more about inshallah, more about the nafs another day. So here we have the final review of the quarter, second quarter of the Ramadan moon. 7 entries, 8 recitations. Not sure exactly what the numbers mean, but there we are. So may Allah give us knowledge and wisdom, and may the light of Allah shine and envelop all of us during Ramadan. Assalamu alaikum.